Welcome to the deep dive. We sift through the noise, pull out the key insights from various sources, and really aim to make you well versed on critical topics. Today, we're diving into a story that honestly has gripped so many people, a legal saga with a truly dramatic courtroom verdict just recently. We are talking about the conviction of Donna Adelson, the Florida matriarch, in that very high profile murder for hire case. So, this deep dive is really an intensive look at the recent CNN report covering her conviction. This was for the 2014 murder of her former son in law, Daniel Markel. Our mission here isn't, just to give you a summary. No, we want to unpack the layers, the family tension behind it all, the frankly shocking motive, and also the crucial evidence, some of it quite unexpected, that led to the conviction, and of course the huge lasting impact on the victims. As we go through this, maybe ask yourself what part of this incredibly tragic story really stands out to you. Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start with that courtroom scene. Can you imagine being there when the verdict for Donna Adelson was read? The tension must have been immense. And then the jury comes back. Guilty, first-degree murder, conspiracy, and solicitation to commit first-degree murder. All three. CNN reported her reaction as, well, complete collapse, not just crying. I mean, she physically broke down, apparently got so intense the judge had to really demand order, and then eventually asked the jury to leave the room because of the raw drama happening right there. It was such an extreme reaction that after the jury left, the judge actually alerted the jail. Yeah, he specifically told them to take precautions against self-harm, which, I mean, that says a lot about the severity of that moment, his concern. It speaks volumes.
It really does. And what's legally fascinating here, beyond just the emotion, is how they got to that conviction. You mentioned the charges. First-degree murder, conspiracy, solicitation. For anyone listening, it's important to get why that combination matters.
Yeah.
Especially since she wasn't the one who, pulled the trigger.
Right.
First-degree murder means premeditation, her intent for the ultimate outcome. Conspiracy hits the planning, the agreement she made with others. And solicitation, that focuses on her actually inciting or encouraging the crime. So the prosecution, in a murder for hire like this, they don't need to show she was physically there doing it. They proved her guilt using what's called the theory of principle. Basically, the jury agreed she aided, assisted, and encouraged the crime in such a fundamental way that legally she's just as responsible as if she had pulled the trigger. Proving that meant showing her active role, her guidance in the whole plot, meticulously. And, the speed of the jury. Just hours, apparently.
Wow, just hours.
Yeah, which for a case built largely on circumstantial evidence. Well, that speed often suggests the prosecution laid out a really compelling, really cohesive story, left little doubt for the jurors about her role.
That really highlights the legal work needed for that conviction, especially when she wasn't at the scene itself. And it just drives home how far responsibility can reach in a conspiracy, doesn't it? But at its heart, this whole thing, like the reports say, it was all rooted in this really bitter custody battle and just deep family tensions. It's more than just a shocking example of things escalating. It really forces you to think about how personal desires, when they're not checked by empathy or reason, can just fester within a family, turning private arguments into something horrifically public and violent, irrevocably so. The stakes for the Adelsons, especially Donna, must have felt incredibly high to them.
And that leads us to what Daniel Markel's mother called it, a murder of convenience. Such a chilling phrase.
It really is.
Because it just cuts to the core of the motive.
Mm.
His mother said it in her victim impact statement. The murder was planned so that one grandmother could live closer to her grandchildren. Just flat out, prioritizing one's own desires over what is just or right. It's brutal. And Daniel Markel, he wasn't just anyone, Harvard-educated law professor at Florida State University, a brilliant guy.
Yeah.
Murdered in 2014, shot in his own garage as he pulled in. The tragedy is how this seemingly understandable desire, wanting grandkids close by, could twist into something so calculated, so brutal. The sources suggest the custody fight was really heated because Daniel might have wanted to move with the kids, while his ex-wife, Wendy Adelson, and her family, Donna included, desperately wanted them in Tallahassee. Or maybe South Florida, closer to them. So this conflict, this deep-seated fight over control and closeness, it somehow became the justification for, well, the unthinkable.
It's just heartbreaking thinking about that family conflict and where it led. And you mentioned earlier, this was largely a circumstantial case, which always makes you wonder, okay, what was the linchpin? What was that one piece of evidence that really nailed it for the prosecution, that convinced the jury? Well, the prosecution's big break, it seems, came from a pretty unexpected source. It shows how small details can be huge. One of the absolutely critical pieces of evidence CNN highlighted, it was found in Donna Adelson's own yearly planner, tucked away in the notes section on the back page, apparently, the full license plate number of Dan Markel's car.
Exactly.
Not digital, but old school analog.
And totally damning.
Precisely. And you have to ask, why was that detail, seemingly so minor, why was it so significant? Well, the hitmen, the ones hired to actually do the killing, they needed specific info to track Markel down.
Right, they needed to find him. That license plate number was vital. It was needed, like the prosecution argued, to go and follow him in Tallahassee and kill him. It is the identifier, the exact thing they needed to target the right person, no mistakes. So this small personal note, jotted in a planner, it became this absolutely critical link in that chain of circumstantial evidence. It connected Donna Adelson directly, not just to the idea of the murder, but to the practical logistical planning, the reconnaissance needed to make the hit happen.
Wow.
It really solidified her direct hands-on role in guiding the people who carried it out. Showed she was much more than just passively wishing for it. It also shows how, even in really careful plots, mistakes happen, sometimes from the most mundane habits.
Yeah.
And that one thread can unravel everything.
It really is incredible. One little note, bringing down a whole conspiracy.
Yeah.
Bridging that gap between wanting something and making it happen. But, okay, beyond the legal side, beyond the crime details, we have to talk about the human cost. It's immense. There are so many victims here. It goes way beyond Daniel Markel himself. The ripple effects are just devastating.
Absolutely. The impact on Daniel Markel's parents, for instance, they live up in Toronto. It's immense, heartbreaking. They gave these incredibly powerful victim impact statements, sharing the raw grief, the trauma they've lived with for years now. His mother's words, they really stick with you. They highlight the calculated cruelty. She said, Danny's murder was orchestrated by his former mother-in-law, Donna Adelson, and other co-conspirators. She called it a crime of cruelty, a murder of grief and murder, of selfishly prioritizing one's own desires over what is just or right.
Oh, wow.
And then she added, she killed their father and ripped the children from the other grandparents' lives. That just sums up the layers of pain, doesn't it? Losing their son, losing their connection to their grandchildren, and knowing it was all driven by selfishness. It shows such a disregard for life and how it just shatters families.
And then you think about Daniel Markel's sons. They were so young when it happened, 3 and 4. Now, almost a decade later, they're teenagers. 13 and 14, living somewhere undisclosed, trying to be shielded from all this horror. But you can't help but wonder, the weight on them. What are they being told now about how their father died? What does it even mean for them to grasp that their own grandmother, Donna, has been convicted of planning his murder? Did they see the news?
Looks unimaginable.
It truly is an unimaginable burden for kids.
It is. And zooming out, the wider tragedy is this family at the core of it all, just devastated in ways we probably can't even fully grasp from the outside. Remember, their mother is Wendy Adelson, Daniel Markel's ex-wife.
Yeah.
She's Donna Adelson's daughter. This whole thing has just torn their lives apart, left this huge void, this legacy of trauma for absolutely everyone involved and for those boys. Losing their dad so young, this conviction, yeah, it brings some legal closure, maybe. But no amount of justice can really heal those wounds or erase the questions that are going to follow them their whole lives, the emotional fallout for them caught right in the middle of these warring sides of their family. That's maybe the deepest, most lasting cost here.
So, okay, this chapter closes with Donna Adelson's conviction. A dramatic end, in a way. But what does it all mean now? For the Adelson family, for the case itself, where does it go from here?
That's a really important question, and it's still very much open. The CNN report touched on it directly, basically asking, are other family members going to be implicated in all of this? Because in these kinds of complex, multi-person conspiracies, when you convict a key planner like Donna Adelson, it often opens doors. It might lead to more scrutiny, maybe more legal action against others who might have been involved, directly or indirectly. The sources have mentioned other co-conspirators before. With Donna convicted, investigators might have, new leverage, new paths to explore. So while her sentencing is set for October 14th, the bigger picture for the rest of her family and anyone else connected to the original plot, that remains a pretty significant unfolding question.
Right.
It suggests that even with this major conviction, the legal story for everyone involved might not be quite finished yet.
And that brings us to the end of this deep dive. What a just shocking and profoundly sad story we've unpacked. A calculated murder for hire, born from a terrible custody battle, leading to this dramatic conviction and just immense devastation for so many people. This case, it really shows the extreme lengths some people will go to, fueled by these personal desires for control, for closeness, the destructive power of family conflict. What does the Donna Adelson case reveal to you? about the real cost when selfish desires are put ahead of justice, peace, and especially the well-being of kids caught in the middle. It also makes you think, doesn't it? How the closest relationships under that kind of pressure can become the source of such horrific acts, changing lives forever.